If you grew up during the early 2000s, you know for a fact how absolutely rich we had it as kids. We had the best forms of entertainment in all sectors. Yeah, I'm calling every generation out on this take. We had the best movies, cartoons, video games, fuck it, I'll even argue music. But I'm not here to talk about how great my people had it. I'm here to talk about one franchise in particular that for many of us instilled a sense of joy and sense of adventure that hasn't been a part of my life since. And yes, this is a video game franchise. That franchise in particular? This is a topic I've been wanting to talk about for so long now, not only because of how long I spent engaging and enjoying myself, spending time exploring the multiple regions that this franchise had laid out in front of us to discover, but this is one of the very few instances in my life where I can say I felt a pure sense of nostalgia coming back to this world after being away from it for so long. I know how dramatic I could be talking about this, but we all have dreamt, at least for a minute or two, about going back to the good old days where time was simple and we didn't have to worry about paying bills on time or constantly worrying about your job or social life. Back to when we all had to think about was what mom was going to make for us to eat while we fiddle away enjoying that cartoon that made you laugh, or playing Black Ops Zombies with your buddies, to constantly shouting at each other to revive you. And while the experience is different for all of us, we all had that sense of wanting to go back to those times. This video, in a way, isn't some deep analysis about the mechanics or lore of the Pokemon games, as I won't be talking about every game in the franchise, but a love letter and a look back of my times with this franchise. A few years back, I was scrolling through Instagram, specifically on the Explore page. No reason as to why. I was just bored and needing of something to do, when I came across this post. Nostalgia can be one of the most powerful experiences you can ever have. I've had moments like that where I felt it when I was watching Finding Nemo, for example, or Part 1 Naruto, but this felt different. This was probably the closest I felt to traveling back in time. The post has nothing but a sample of a track that plays when you explore Eternal Forest, a location that I actually don't go to that often, besides when I needed to get through it during the main playthrough of the game or during my attempt to catch a Rotom. But the music alone just got to me. This goes to show how powerful great music, even in a system that's designed for handheld, can have such a powerful effect on somebody. More so than music from video games designed to play on far more powerful hardware. Originally, this video was supposed to be about the music in video games and how much they evolved over the times, from the 16-bit era of Nintendo to the theatrical and bombastic way it sounds on today's consoles. But after listening to the Eternal Forest theme, I quickly ran to YouTube and looked up more music from Pokemon, and oh my god, I do not care what anybody says, this has to be some of the best music I've heard in any game. Does nostalgia play a role into this decision? Yeah, of course it does. However, even taking nostalgia away from the equation and just purely listening to this music from a quality perspective, the music in Pokemon Platinum is masterful in presentation and tone. Every track feels appropriate to the setting and location they're set in, and even today, some of these tracks are good to listen back to. I will specifically discuss Pokemon Platinum in this video, as this specific game is the catalyst for me even changing the topic of the video originally. But why is that? Why Pokemon Platinum in general? Why not Pokemon Emerald? Another entry in the series I played nearly as much as Platinum, and even had an older experience with it. One reason would be the atmosphere and geography that the Sinnoh region has over all the others. The snowy setting is something I gravitate towards, and there's a calmness to the setting that taps into my soul, especially today where I feel the most lost with myself at this point in my life. I will get into this point in more detail later on in the video. However, please note that how a game's world is designed and structured is one of the most crucial factors in how memorable a game, or any piece of fiction for that matter, can stick with a person. If we look at the design of the Sinnoh region, we see that it is the most northern region in Pokemon in comparison to the others. In comparison to Hoenn, which is another favorite of mine, it's nowhere near as imaginative as that. However, for the lack of imagination, it more than makes up for it with variability. The Sinnoh region is as snowy as it is the main style, however, it isn't beholden to that look as we can see beaches, marshes, dense forest, caves, and even ports that make up a good portion of the region. It is impressive how much Game Freak manages to cram in a handheld hardware of the Nintendo DS while making every portion of Sinnoh flow in a way that doesn't make the locations feel out of place. It is a masterstroke of video game world crafting, and I think it is a crowning achievement of the 4th generation. The geographical design is also tied into the lore. For example, one of the main traits of the Sinnoh region is the 3 lakes that is home to Euxis, Mesprit, and Azelf, which by the way has one of the best legendary battle themes in any game in the series. It is worth noting that while this is a praise on Platinum, this game is standing on the shoulders of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. 2 games, while not a massive step forward in comparison to the previous entries in the series, did set up the foundation for the triumph of Platinum as a Pokemon experience. The graphics have been enhanced, the game was made faster in response to Diamond and Pearl, more Pokemon were added to the Pokédex to alleviate lack of types, for example the lack of fire types in the original Diamond and Pearl games, and the story was expanded upon. Over 200 Pokemons are available in comparison to the 151 in the previous entry, and the best part is that all of these are available during the main playthrough of the game. This means that you have multiple opportunities to go with different types of teams, which allows for more replayability. You are no longer beholden to a single good team like in Diamond and Pearl, rather you now have option to go about the Sinnoh region the way you want to play. This is one of the reasons why I've played it multiple times in my life. The Elite Four is also well put together in terms of typing, making sure your team is well balanced enough in order to get through each without making it easy for the player. With Baron being a bug type user, you are able to take advantage of any fire, ice, or flying types that you have in your team to great heights. This further carries on to Bertha, a ground type user, which forces you to use grass, ice, or water types in order to have an advantage in battle. For Flint, a fire type user, you will need water, ground, and rock types. And finally, Lucian, who is a psychic type, we would need a dark, bug, or ghost type in order to defeat him in battle. Now of course, none of these are necessary for you to land the win, however the point is that the Elite Four in this game is structured well enough to think strategically with how you choose and craft your team in order to proceed with battling Cynthia herself. Speaking of Cynthia, she's by far the most difficult champion I've ever had to deal in any Pokemon game. Your experience might be different, but for mine, I never had this much trouble beating a champion before. Alright, so now you might be asking, yeah, Platinum is good overall, but still, why this one in particular? I mean, there are other Pokemon games that do specific things better than Platinum. My love for Platinum has more to do with my own experiences with it rather than the own mechanics of the game. For starters, the Pokemon games before Diamond and Pearl are much easier to explain. They have not aged as well as they did. Even Pokemon Emerald, which is the best of the Game Boy era, have shown its cracks after being released for so long. And as influential as impactful as Pokemon Red and Blue was to the entire franchise, it is nearly impossible to go back and play those games. The remakes are the definitive versions for a reason. The same goes for Gold and Silver, and while the games after Platinum have their advantages like better graphics and hardware, they just don't hold the same magic as Platinum has for me. Keep in mind that I've only played Black and White once, so my memory on it is a bit foggy with the details of that game, so a replay is in the cards for me to experience it again. The reason why I hold Pokemon Platinum in such a high regard is more to do with me as a person. I apologize in advance from what I'm about to say, since I'm going a little off topic with this next section, but like I said, my love for Platinum has more to do with my life as a kid compared to who I am now. Specifically, the times in my life where I spent hours grinding trying to level up my Pokemon team in order to dominate every gym battle in my way, and realizing how much happier I was back then in comparison to how I am right now. To go back to what I said earlier in the video about me being lost with myself, life during my 20s just feels like chaos, and I always feel like I need to improve and evolve so I can keep up with this ideal version of myself, to the point where I feel like I cannot be satisfied with where I'm at in the moment. My life is generally good on paper. I have a good job that pays well. I bought myself a new car recently. I've been working out and taking good care of my health, and overall I am doing very well financially for myself. However, in reality, I don't feel like I'm living the life to live it. I feel like I'm just going through the motions. So when I first listened to that Instagram post with the Eternal Forest theme for the first time in years, it brought me back to the times where I never needed to worry about the struggles that me and so many young adults today deal with. To be blunt, sometimes all you need in life to be satisfied for even a moment is to look back at the times where you can just turn on your DS and beat the crap out of other people's Pokemon. I was not trying to make this video some deep analysis about the game's mechanics, but a general thank you for what this game reminded me of how I should spend more time enjoying life. It is the main reason why I even started a YouTube channel in the first place. I love making videos and love the process of doing so, and it is also why I'm so grateful for hitting 1,000 subs. I'm glad that some people are enjoying my content I put out, and I'll be forever grateful for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I have more videos planned, so please leave a like and subscribe for more videos. Please let me know what your favorite game in the series is. You guys already know why I love mine. Whether it be Pokemon Red and Blue, Pokemon Emerald, Pokemon Black and White, just let me know down in the comments and we can discuss. I will see you guys in the next video.